V2 finale. I I don't know if this is a fact or this is just my perception, but it seemed like you were the one that shot the most. You were just shooting match after match after match. How much did you actually shoot? Did I lose you? Are you back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
No biggie, you're back. So, Dwayne, thank you so much for joining me today. V2 finale. I don't know if it was my perception. I don't have the data. I didn't look it up. I mean, we have the data, but I didn't look it up. But it appears that you shot more than everybody else. Is that true, or I mean, it just seemed like you were shooting match after match after match. You shot a lot.
I don't know if I shot more than anybody else, but it sure felt like it. I was really dragging my rear end towards the end of the day. And I shot 11 matches in one day, the last day.
I that's my point. You were shooting like anyway, and ultimately Bill's the one who took you out, which is, I don't know if you saw the match, but he was pretty much, I called him your student, but for lack of a better word, but you pretty much been teaching him, helping him along the way, correct?
Yes, and he was the one that put me into the losers bracket in the first time. So we went 3 matches on the first one. We went 3 matches on the second one, and he's such a nice guy. I mean, we went down there and trained for 2 months.
Wow.
2 matches prior, we went down there and shot on the range for the day prior. And then we would shoot a match. So we would work together and say, "Hey, here's what I see. Here, what do you see? Do you see the same thing?" We were working on the elevation on the range, because everybody had told us that had been down there before. There's a lot of elevation.
Oh, okay. So you guys had been there.
So we worked on the elevation. Yes.
So you guys purposely
2 months
went
prior.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, that's what it takes. So there was no luck. It was all preparation, which, pays off, right?
As you know. Yeah, as you know, it does.
Yeah.
But we'll take luck.
Right. Yeah, I'll take it. And I'll take that better than anything else. So you shot a lot. What were you shooting? Let's start with that. You were shooting a 284 Shaheen?
284 Shaheen, yes. And Bill was shooting a Magnum.
Right.
Yeah, Brooks Farrell.
Yeah. He was shooting his pretty fast, wasn't he?
I think he was shooting his just about 3,000, maybe a tick over. Maybe I think it's just a tick over 3,000 feet a second. At the muzzle.
Smoking, smoking. Either way, I mean, you held. All right, let's get into the Magnum versus non-Magnum conversation right quick. How much do you think? I mean, you've been shooting F-class for a long time, very experienced. How much do you think a Magnum actually buys you?
If you're a person, there's very few people that can control a Magnum on vertical. So like Bob Bach, Bill's one of those, Danny Biggs is a person that can control a Magnum. If you can control the water line of a Magnum, you're good. I personally can't control a Magnum as well as those few gentlemen. I just can't.
Yeah, that's what I talk about. A Magnum is great, except for the fact that the recoil, it doesn't hurt the shooter, but it hurts the setup, and it hurts follow-up shots. And to me, I shot at 300 for a while, and I just couldn't. I often tell people that it's like a Shaheen or a 284. It's like playing a guitar and singing at the same time. You don't really think about it. You just shoot it, goes back, you shoot it. Where a Magnum is kind of like when you don't know how to dance, where you have to keep looking at your toes and your feet and all that. And I found myself having to do that with a Magnum. Like, I was always worried because sometimes it bounced away from my target, land on another target, and I have to shove it back. And it just, it may have been my setup. I don't know. The point is, I just never was comfortable shooting a Magnum. The setup I spent too much time focusing on the setup and not enough time in shooting, which obviously hurt my scores.
And I would agree with that. And I think you mentioned in several of the videos that I shoot more free recoil or soft touch on my shoulder and let the gun come to me. I found that I shoot better that way. Not everybody does, but on a Magnum, I feel more people have to pin the rifle. They have to pin it against the rest.
Yeah.
And I can't do that consistently because my habit is to shoot soft touch where my shoulder's just barely touching it.
So I used to shoot like you, and then I went to a Magnum, and I had to like hold it, right? And now that I'm back to a
Yes.
Shihane, I just keep holding it because I taught myself how to do that with a Magnum, and now I'm back. I just grip the gun, but the Magnum is what forced me to do that. I just could not.
Right.
Free recoiling. Well, like you say, soft touch. I could never get it to be consistent. It wasn't until I went to gripping the gun and teaching myself literally how to shoot it. Like at 100 yards, I spent so much time shooting at 100 yards, just trying to get consistent group after group. And finally, I was able to develop a hold that worked. And then I spent hundreds of rounds at 100 yards just developing that load, that habit, the muscle memory and everything. And once I had it, then I went back to long range, and then my scores improved, my groups, everything improved. But it was still always a setup issue. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, but having said all that, the Magnum only helps you in high wind situations.
Right.
And it only helps you if you make a mistake. Because even if you have a Shihane and you're just dialed in, it doesn't matter, right? You're just going to keep it in the center. It only helps you if you make a mistake and you miss the call and you're behind the call or in front of the call, where the Magnum, you're having to make smaller calls. So, there's tendency to make smaller errors when you miss a call. But yeah, there's definitely a trade-off to shooting a Magnum, and of course barrel life, right? You're changing barrels almost twice as often as a 284 or a Shihane.
Which is, for me, I get comfortable with a barrel and I know what a barrel's going to do. So I like that. I like that I can go another,
trust me,
almost twice again the rounds count on the chain.
When I went to the World Championship, my barrel had, I think, 1,500 rounds. And I didn't worry, I was fine. I would never take a Magnum with over 1,000 even, you know what I mean? So
the
anyway,
barrel I took to the V2 had 2,300, 2,400 on it.
Yeah, see what I mean? It's just, they just go forever. But anyway, and I mean, your gun held tuned the whole time, didn't it? I mean,
Yes.
From the videos we've been watching, that thing was tuned the whole time.
Yes, I had no complaints about it.
We laughed.
No excuses except for the meat.
We laughed. I don't know if you saw that video with John and I, where you said you lost a shot out the top, and it was just like I don't know. It was well inside the 10 ring for vertical, but it was like at 7:30 o'clock or so. No, it was like 10:30. And we laughed because you said, yeah, I went out the top. And we're like, no, that's not going out the top. When we go out the top, we commit, man. But no, that was incredible. I mean, that gun just held tune. Well, everybody's, right? Like even Bill's Magnum. That thing.
Everybody that was invited to that party, their guns were hammers. I mean, it just got down to the dance. Who was at the top.
Somehow it's a different mindset when you go to nationals and then you go, yeah, I have to compete against, I don't know, 100 people, right? But you already know that, like you show up to nationals, I would say you're automatically in the top 30, right? And all depends how you shoot, right? Obviously, you have the potential to win it. And I feel the same way. Like when I go to nationals, I'm like, well, I'm already in the top 30. It's a pretty good finish already. You know what I mean? But You don't think, you're already saying, well, I'm already in the top 25% or 25% of the field. And that's already a pretty good finish. But when you go to V2 and you only have those 32, you go, holy crap, you know what I mean? Like 32nd place at nationals is a pretty good finish. It's not great, but it's a decent finish. It's respectable. 32 finish at V2, right. You feel like you're not even worthy, but it's just a whole different mindset. I think it makes you prepare better because you're like, there's no room for mistakes here.
No.
The typical F-class format, you can have a bad day, bad string, and you're like, and then you can reframe your goals, right? You can say, okay, I'm not going to win, but maybe I can win a medal for this match, or maybe for an aggregate for the day, or maybe, you start, or you say, well, you know what? Okay, I'm not winning, but maybe I'll make top 10, or maybe I'll make top 20. So you keep reframing that. In V2, there's none of that. You're out, you're out. There's no top anything. Right?
Yeah, you had to be on your razor's edge at all times during every shot, because every shot counted. Every single shot counted.
Yeah. So anyway, so what was your experience shooting the V2? Because you got pretty far. You got third place? Third place.
Third place, correct.
So what was your experience, getting third place at V2 versus, I think you've placed that high in nationals as well, right?
That high in nationals and the Canadian nationals and several other events.
I mean, you're definitely a top shooter. So what's the difference? I mean, what I know it's, at least from the surface, it appeared like it took a lot more work to get a third place at V2 than it does at most other places. But that's just me.
It was definitely a lot more work. It was definitely a lot more work, because if you look at, I don't know anywhere else that I would have had to shoot against top competitors and shoot 11 matches in one day. How many times have you ever said you shot 11 matches in one day? Never.
Yeah.
I say never.
Yeah.
And it was back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I mean, as soon as I got off the line, I was right back on the line, switching my shooting position, let my barrel cool off to make sure I could even touch it, and then back down and lay down and shoot, which was exciting and exhausting all in the same thing.
And the problem with that is, because it's not an aggregate score, you could have shot your greatest scores in that one match and beat your opponent, and then go to the next one, and none of that matters anymore. You got to start completely over.
Yes.
You could not shoot
back to zero.
So let's say you never shot a 4, and we're discussing this yesterday. Let's say you get all the way to the finale and you've never shot a 4 your entire string. All the matches you never shot a 4, and then you shoot a 4 in the finale, you're out pretty much. And all of a sudden, nothing else matters.
It's kind of like poor Todd. I mean, poor Todd didn't take any of his matches past 2 matches.
He took
and all
one.
Of a sudden, Bill takes him.
Yeah.
Okay. And then all of a sudden, in the shoot off, Bill takes him all the way to, and then he shoots 5 Vs in a row.
He got Kaloji'd.
Then he drops the mic and walks off.
Yeah, he got Kaloji'd. From now on, that 5 Vs in the finale will always be known as a Kaloji. You can say, I shot a Kaloji. Everybody's going to know that's 5 Vs in the shoot off. That is so impressive. But, that was something else. And Todd, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. That's the thing. He shot clean. Even in the finale, he shot clean. But it wasn't enough. I mean, how many
how do you
people
compete with that?
So Bill shot in the finale, he shot 25 shots, 4 score. They were all clean. So that's a 250 in traditional F class, which we don't even have 25 shots. But he shot 25 clean. The last one was 5 Vs. The second one was 8. That's 13. And the first one, I think, was 6 or 7. So he shot about 19 or 20 Vs out of 25. And the last 5 were no-siders. I mean, that is, just highly impressive. Highly impressive. But anyway, that was amazing. That was just amazing performance by Bill and Todd. That's a crazy thing. Todd put on a killer performance, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough.
It was amazing to watch. All of it was just phenomenal. It was amazing to be part of. It was amazing to watch. Although I didn't get to watch a lot of it because I was participating in a lot of it.
Well, you watch it through your scope better than most of us can say. Most of we had to spectate. You were actually shooting it, which, I mean, you did amazing. So what do you think about the fact that you finally made some money?
I mean, I tell you, this is about the only match that I've come away with not only paying, it paid for my hotel room, it paid for everything else. And actually with the sponsorship through Capstone, actually walked away making money on it.
Yeah, so
more than paid for everything.
Vitavori and Vortex were main sponsors, and of course Capstone is the parent company, and they had some. I mean, not only the cash prices, but the prize table was, man, it was packed full of very, very nice prizes. I mean, if you
even through eighth place or something like that,
they were getting
paid out their
$1,200. Yeah. Oh, well, they paid out their entry fees. Plus, they were getting, like, if you got a Vortex tripod, those things are $1,200. Or you were getting Capstone reloading packages that were worth about at least that much. I mean, yeah, it was well worth it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what are your reactions to the match going forward? What, somebody who maybe just saw you shoot, what would you say to maybe somebody who's burnt out about F-Class? There's a lot of guys that are burnt out and they go, I'm done with F-Class, or I'm going to take a break. What would you say to those people now that you've shot the V2? Because I mean, as much shooting as you've done, I'm sure you have, or I don't know, have you ever experienced the burnout feeling where you go, you know what, I'm just going to take some time off, or I just threw a lot at you. So let's go with that one first. Have you ever experienced the burnout feeling?
I think you and I may have had this discussion. I know I've had it with John Myers. He and I've had a perfect discussion about this same thing. Right after Worlds, with the U.S. team, I was a little crispy around the edges. And so, yes, I think all of us that have shot for a long period of time have experienced it. And I'm sure you have. And you just get, because of the grind and what you expect of yourself, it's more than anybody else is going to expect, but it's what you put on yourself. So this competition, one being parafired, it's you and the person laying down next to you. You can't complain about the pit service. You can't complain about anything else. It's not relay dependent. It's not anything else. So you can't get yourself worked up about that. It's you and the guy next to you, and it's on electronic targets, and there's no favoritism, no anything else. And it was run phenomenally. And for you guys to have pulled it off for the first year that smooth, that's a phenomenal job. I was expecting, even running matches, I was expecting a little bit more hitches, and it appeared flawless. I mean, from the outside.
Yeah, obviously, we put in a lot of work, but Dead Zero, they also took this very seriously, and they did an amazing job. So obviously, a big credit goes to them, and obviously our team, the V2 team. I didn't do much. I'm just there to be pretty. That's just my job. And also I get to film and interview people. But I mean, obviously it's put on by shooters for shooters. And we have F-Class John, Jay Christopherson, Todd Hendricks, Drew, Rutherford. I was thinking Dan Paul Label and Ian Clem. I mean, all of us, if you put all of us together and how many years we've been shooting, how many rounds we shot downrange, we got together and we decided, you know what, let's do this. I think it all started with Todd and Jay, and then Jay started asking me about this format, and I thought, man, it's great, but it's going to take a lot of work to pull something off. And one day he's like, I think we should do it. I said, well, if you want to do it, I'll help you. Let's go. And here we are, but of course, Emo Praslik, he also gave us a lot of input on. So, I mean, we've had a lot of help, but there was a lot of work getting to this point, as you can imagine. But now that we're at this point, it was all worth it. You know what I mean? This match, when you talk about how it ran flawless, it exceeded our expectations, because we also expected some issues, and there was very minor issues, but I don't think nothing memorable, it just, everything just if there was an issue, got fixed immediately and just kept running. But Yeah,
Tell me what match you've ever been to that hasn't had issues. It's not any other big match. They come up. So I mean, it looked like a match that had been run for 10 years.
Yeah, well, I'm glad and I'm happy that you had a good time. So, all right, so you finally make money. What do you do with that money? Do you apply it to? I was gonna say reloading components, but there's hardly any right now. By the way, what did you pick? Because you got your money plus you got to pick a capstone package or a vortex. What did you pick?
I picked the capstone package.
The capstone.
So that's going to be my reloading components.
What did you get? What was the capstone? Because they had different grades, different levels.
I ended up getting $1,400 in capstone package. So it was products. Yeah.
Well worth
that's way more than my entry fees and way more than I've got in,
ever.
Yeah. That exceeds probably way more than I got ever by about $1,350.
So capstone, for those that don't know, is Berger, Lapua, Vitabori, and they also have rimfire, S&K and all that. But so you got brass, powder, and bullets, right?
Correct.
Yeah, man, that's great. So, and then you got cash. You got $1,000 because you got third place.
$1,000 cash. Yes.
So, what are you gonna do with that money?
And I plan on donating it to Pausability.
Pausability.
That's pausability.org. That's a organization that donates service dogs to veterans and first responders at no cost to the veteran or first responder.
Okay.
So for some of you who know me pretty close, and I haven't revealed this to a lot of people, I have a service dog myself as being a veteran. And only had her for probably about 9 months now. And a lot of us say, hey, we don't need, a lot of us in my situation, even other veterans say, somebody else needs it more, somebody else needs it more, somebody else needs it more. It's just denial that we even need help. But when you look down, everybody else around you knows that you need help, but you're the last one to realize it. So my wife and two of the founders of the organization said, Dwayne, you need a service dog more than half of the people that have one. So taking their advice, I ended up with my dog Rose, and she's made a huge difference in my life. She's stopped some of the nightmares, night terrors. I'm able to go out in public places when I want to, not just to Lowe's at 7 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. Still having trouble going out to public restaurants and stuff with my wife, but I'm working on that. But, hey, it's a work in progress, but I'm able to go some places that I want to when I want to because of her.
So I don't know your background. Were you in the military or first responder?
Yes, I was in the Army.
Oh, you were in the Army? How long?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And your dog, so it's helped you. How long ago did you leave the Army, and how long did you go on without a dog?
25 years. It took me 25 years to admit that I needed help.
Wow. So that's incredible, really. Because at some point you obviously I don't know, but I'm assuming that at some point you go, well, it's been 25 years. I don't need anything. It's gone or whatever, But you live with whatever you had for 25 years, and then the dog comes along and it helps you.
Well, what actually brought it back up was all the, lack of a better term, I hate to call it riots, but the riots that were going around the nation, protests or riots. It brought up a lot of things that were in my past in the military.
Oh, okay.
So in other countries, they had a lot of demonstrations against the military and things like that. So that brought up a lot of underlying issues that came back up, that resurfaced. Okay. So that's what kind of resurfaced a lot of those feelings.
I see.
I kind of subdued them as much as I could during other times, but it was that really brought it back to a head. I mean, it got bad there for a while. I was starting to push family and friends away, getting agitated them for no reason to their fault. It was just, it's what it is,
Yeah, yeah. So your dog now, how do you use that dog? Like, is she just a companion? Is that how the dog helps you, or how does a service dog really help you? Excuse my questions, man, but I don't know.
No, I'm glad you're asking, because I'm probably not, because I'm nervous about it. She's laying right here underneath my feet. So
yeah.
So what they do is they take a dog and they get it. They're either donated or given to them. Plausibility does, and then a professional trainer will evaluate that dog. Then they'll go through a basic obedience training through Madison Women's Prison here in Indiana. So, and when I say basic obedience, it's more training than any other dog will go through for the most part. And then they'll go to a foster home, and then they'll be waiting for a dog and a service member or a veteran or a first responder to be paired with that dog, and then get their individual training. So they're actually dual certified as far as the ADA and good canine citizen. But they'll have to be paired with that person. So like, she'll help me with PTSD, which is mostly my problem. And since I have a bad back, she can get things off the floor for me. She can help me if I need to get up, use a brace command. So she'll help me with all those things. So like, I'll give you for instance, if I'm having a nightmare, she'll start to nudge on me and try to wake me up. If that doesn't work, she'll throw a paw on me. If that doesn't work, she'll do like a full body slam on me to wake me out of that nightmare.
Wow. So
she starts doing that. If I say, hey, Rose, touch, she'll take her hand, she'll take her nose and she'll touch me. Some places she'll get me out of any kind of physical stress she can see.
Wow. Okay.
When I first got her, I was driving down the road, didn't even notice that I was driving down the road with a death grip on the steering wheel, white knuckling down the whole way. And I didn't have no idea. So I see her whining in the back seat. She's in the back seat of my truck. And she says, I was like, what does she want? Does she have to go to the bathroom? And just let her go out. Well, I didn't realize I had a death grip on the steering wheel. I mean, this has been my life for 25 years. I didn't know. I wasn't stressed out about anything in particular. Just my thoughts had gone somewhere else, I guess. And I realized I was death gripping it. Well, so I stopped death gripping the steering wheel. She stopped whining. So about 20 minutes down the road, I start death gripping the steering wheel again. She starts whining again. So it's kind of one of those things that it's been part of my life, and it's been a habit for so long that I didn't even realize what I was doing, but she's gotten in tune with me and been trained to be in tune with people, that it's kind of almost weird how a dog can even be capable of that type of action.
So she gets to know you so well that she can sense when you're stressed or anything, you're having issues, and she knows how to, dogs are naturally loving, right? And she just knows that, hey, he needs my help. I'm just gonna help you out, and just the fact that I guess I would imagine just the fact that you have somebody there acknowledging that you're stressed and trying to help you out, I think that automatically would make you feel better. That's my thought. But yeah, man, that's great. That's great. So she goes with you everywhere, pretty much, for the most part?
Most everywhere. I don't take her to gun ranges with me. Trying to work on hearing protection. But I feel safe at gun ranges, because I know most everybody there. I mean, who don't I know at like the V2, or who don't I know at our local gun ranges that we travel to? So it's a limited group.
Right.
So, it's kind of one of those things that I feel safe in those places. But typically when I go to Lowe's or Home Depot or other places, I don't know those people.
Right.
And it's been kind of I thought I needed some kind of dog like I have, like a Rottweiler or something to keep people away. But it's actually, she's a lab, chocolate lab.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually brings people that I would normally just walk past, but she'll actually engage people in conversation. You know, she'll get people to come up to me that I would normally walk past, and it starts a conversation.
Oh,
so it did something that I didn't realize.
Right.
It engages me to engage people in conversation.
Yeah, I see. Man, that's interesting. Well, that's amazing, man. I'm so happy that she's helping you. Obviously, I've known you for years, and obviously, I didn't know any of this. But I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad she's helping, and I'll put a link in the description of this video so people can go check out. Was it Possibility?
Possibility.org.
.org. Yeah, that's interesting, man. And that's. I'm glad that you're putting that money to good use, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
it's
for me. It's found money.
Do what?
It's found money. It's found money to me because hey, and it's going to help some other veteran that was in a situation like myself. Get a dog at no cost to them. So
that's awesome. Well, Dwayne, man, I really appreciate this interview, and man, I thank you for sharing this with us. Obviously, I imagine it's hard to talk about it, but I'm glad Rose, right? That's her name.
Rose, yeah.
I'm glad Rose has helped you as much as she has. Sounds like she's really helping you, and I can see why you would want somebody else to have a dog as well.
No, I appreciate your time, Eric, and I appreciate your help with getting that out, and I appreciate you guys, taking the time to get the V2 set up. I know it was a lot of work.
Yeah. So one last thing, I know people are gonna want to know your setup. I mean, they're gonna want to know because your gun you don't have to share if you don't want to, but
I'll tell anybody
that thing just held tuned so well, just like typically and that's why I like a Shihane or a 284. They just seem to hold tune for forever. But anyway, so tell us about your setup, before we go, because people are going to, I know they're interested to know. What was your setup?
No worries. So it was a Dan Bramley tuner. So
okay, we'll just edit. Edit that out, please. I'm joking. Anyway, Dan Bramley, good fellow competitor.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Dan Bramley tuner.
Brooks barrel. It was a Bat Nuevo LR action.
Oh, that's
stock.
The Bat Nuevo. That's their newest flavor, right? The newest. I call it a flavor, but newest. Action design or whatever.
Yes.
What kind of stock was it?
The Sears stock, finished by Keith Weil.
Mm-hmm.
I did the chambering. It was in 284 Shaheen.
Okay. Somebody asked me that, and I said, no, Dwayne, I think he gets his stuff done by Keith, but I didn't realize you did your own chamber work. How long have you been doing that? Like always?
No, not always. I've been doing it for about 4 years.
Okay. I didn't realize you did that. That's interesting. Like, what have you found? Okay, let's finish your gear, and then I have a question for you about chambering your own barrels. So,
okay.
What kind of trigger?
Vixen Andy.
Vixen Andy. Scope?
Scope is a March Highmaster.
March Highmaster. Brooks 4 groove, because that's all they make. You can get a 6.
It's a 4C.
4C.
Which is all they make, really.
Yeah.
It's a candid versus like a 5R.
Right.
What Bartline makes.
So this is a 4C.
Which is standard.
Yeah, that's all they make, right? It's 4-groove.
Yes.
So somebody was asking me a couple of days ago. As you can imagine, I get a lot of emails, people asking questions about. I don't even know who makes 5C. I know Bartline does. I don't know if Krieger does.
They make a 5R. Yeah.
The point. Have you found 5Cs to be beneficial? I know you're shooting 4, so I kind of already know the answer, but I don't know if you even ever tried the 5 groove, the whole 5 thing. Have you ever tried any of those?
I've tried them. I've chambered some up for people. You have to be careful when you chamber them.
Yeah. Chatter.
Because you have to take the neck out with a boring bar.
Right. Otherwise they'll chatter on you. Yeah.
Yes.
They'll chatter on you.
The flutes aren't timed to the reamer.
But as far as shooting wise, performance, have you found them to be? Like I said, I think I know the answer, because if you did, you'd probably be shooting them. But have you found them superior in any way to a 4-groove?
The only thing I found that Bartlines do better is they break in earlier.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They break in quicker. They break in about half the time.
All right. There's another question. Break in. Do you break in barrels? So how do you break in a barrel? How do you break in a barrel?
I'll shoot between 1 and 3 shots, clean it till the copper comes out of it. Mm-hmm. Shoot 1 to 3. I typically shoot 1 shot, clean the copper out of it, shoot 3 shots, clean the copper out of it, shoot 3 shots, clean the copper out of it until I stop getting copper fouling out of it. And then I'll shoot 5 shots, clean it, shoot 5 shots, clean it until I get up to about 20 to 25 shots. And then I'll shoot it and not get it overheated, but get it just
warm. Yeah.
Warm. And then just keep shooting it till I get it warm.
Okay.
And break it in.
Okay.
Just don't overheat it. Just don't overheat it.
Okay. So you actually do a break-in procedure. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I quit doing that.
I look for the copper.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I quit doing that 6-7 years ago. But it's all about preference, right? It's just, it seems to work either way. And here's what I always tell people: do what works for you. If whatever makes you confident, that's what works. Right? Other than that, I mean, Brooks is, I'm sponsored by Brooks, but I wasn't at one point. And I was shooting Bruxes back then. And this is by no means of trying to be an ad for Brooks, but they just seem to shoot kind of, it almost seemed, this is how you know it's not an ad, because I'm about to beat them up pretty hard. It almost seems like very low tech barrels, just 4-groove. You call over there and say, hey, I'd like to get a 5-groove. We don't have that. Call somebody else. You know what I mean? They have a 4-groove. That's it, guys. Like, there's no high tech anything. There's no, it seems like there's no advancements. But then when you ask them, they go, well, we don't need to. Like, there's nothing beating our barrels. Why do we need to do anything? And I'm like, okay, you got me there. It's just, like I said, it just seems like a very low tech barrel that just shoots lights out. Because you were shooting one, Bill was shooting one, Todd was, like, everybody shooting 1, 2, 3 were Bruxes. It's. And
if you go to their shop and you go to somebody else's shop and you sit and look at the equipment in it.
I have.
Oh, I know. We all have. And you sit there and you look at this, you look at the high tech stuff, and you're sitting there going, how can this turn out such great quality stuff? And you're sitting there, but it does.
Yeah.
You can't dispute the range. You can't dispute what the results on the range are.
It's incredible. Like I said, when I saw their shop, I was like, okay, guys, where's the real machine shop? And they're like, no, this is it. And I'm like, wow, it just seemed, but like you said, I think it's obviously they know how to run those machines, and those machines serve their purpose. Look at the, 1, 2, 3 at the V2 finale, right? I mean, Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. But anyway, back to the question I was going to ask. Why did you start chambering your own barrels? What was the main reason?
I wanted to bring that control with me. I did it to do my own barrels because, and I had a gunsmith, which I really, really trusted, Ray Saltzman, Saltzman Gunworks, and he did an excellent job, but he got injured and, he was sick for a little bit. And I counted on him. I mean, literally I could call him and say, "Hey, Ray, I need a barrel." And he'd have it for me, within a couple of days. And then if I had a barrel that went bad on me, but that happened whenever he got hurt or sick. And I was just like, man, I was like, you come to count on that kind of stuff, and I didn't overuse it, but whenever I needed it, he was there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he wasn't there. And it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to be able to do it myself for that specific reason. Not that he wasn't doing a phenomenal job,
right?
Just because of that.
Have you found? So obviously, I do my own stuff too, and I did it for very similar reasons as you. It's like sometimes I just needed a barrel and I couldn't have one, and it was like, oh man, what am I going to do? So I decided one day, you know what? The only way is just for me to have my own stuff. But have you found more consistency? Maybe because I always talk about the mindset of the gunsmith, right? The gunsmith is trying to do a barrel while a million people are calling him, and he has to balance quality versus speed, because if all he has is quality but has no speed, then he's going to have a lot of mad customers. At some point, he has to find that balance, right? And whereas for you, it almost doesn't matter how long it takes, because you are 100% focused on the best barrel, the best chamber job you can have. And I've done it myself. Like I'll finish a chamber and I'll check it and run the indicators, and I'm like, oh, it's got about three tenths. Set it back and start over, and I don't care. I can make the decision on the fly. Have you found that to be helpful, or at least how has that helped you shooting? Has it helped you shooting at all to know that?
I think a lot of this is mental. So I would say if nothing more, it's mental. And my wife will say it too. She goes, "You've been so much better. You can just walk downstairs and you can spin a barrel up and you're done with it." Yeah. So she said, for that fact alone, it's been worth every penny.
Right. Well, so, like I said, like there's obviously these great gunsmiths don't get to be great gunsmiths because they're sacrificing quality. But I'm just saying, at least in my head, that's how I think. So I always wonder, because you know how it is. Like kind of like you said, like I was in a bind. I'd call him, he'd have me a barrel, and I'd be like, okay, he already has a full backlog, and now he squeezed my barrel in. What did he have to do? Did he have to work extra? Now he's doing my chamber when he's really tired. What did he have to do? He had to give up something,
right?
And of course, that was always in the back of my mind, right? And now when I do my own stuff, if it takes me an entire weekend, and some have, like I'll get working on a chamber, and my wife is like, "Hey, I like to go, let's go eat, let's go to dinner or whatever." I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let me just run the reamer and I'll stop and we can go. That barrel just stays in the lathe until the next day. I come back the next day and I keep going, So anyway, that's great. I didn't realize you did your own barrel work, but it seems like you're doing a good job. Yeah. But anyway, all right, Dwayne, I won't take much more of your time, man. I appreciate you doing this interview with me. Again, great job on the V2 finale. Third place in that field is outstanding. As you know, you were always one shot away. As you know, you were always one shot away from being out, and that is what makes it so incredibly hard to get as far as you got. So, good job.
I appreciate it, Eric, and again, thank you guys for taking all your effort and time running that. And I did thank the guys at V2. I sent them a nice,
No,
response.
thank you. We got it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to us. I know it's pretty cliche to say it, but it really does mean a lot to us because we were very stressed out about how this would not only would go, but how it would be perceived. You know what I mean? Because it's a whole different format. It's different. And of course it's this is our baby, right? And we're always worried about, because the whole purpose of doing this was to give shooters a better experience. And obviously that's, even if everything ran as great as it did, but if people didn't enjoy it, all of a sudden it's still a failure for us. But to know that, as far as we know, everybody had a lot of fun, man, that was great. So I really appreciate you sending us that email, thanking us all, because we really appreciated that. So thank you.
All right, Eric.
All right, Dwayne, take care, man.
Thanks again.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.